You can change your physical appearance all you want, but it's probably not going to change the problem. Body dysmorphia is a mental health disorder. It's not a physical health disorder. You change your physical appearance, it does not change the fact that the mental health disorder is still present. Although you may convince yourself that it will fix things because, oh, if I get bigger, I've solved the problem. When you get bigger, you will still not feel big enough. Your goalpost just moves. You don't ever get closer to it, it just keeps moving. Don't come for the fact that I've got a red eye. I just got out of the shower, I got soap in my eye, and it bloody stings. But we're here nonetheless, powering through, looking like I'm probably half possessed, when in reality I've just got a minty eye. A bit of a deeper video today, not workout related, but still related to the fitness realm and just the realm of bodies in general nonetheless. And we talk about a pretty big secret, I would say, in the industry, because it's something that many people have or have experienced, but not that many people tend to speak about, and that's body dysmorphia. And we're using Will Tennyson's video, The Truth About Body Dysmorphia, as a catalyst for this conversation. All I say is at any point throughout the video, if you actually just tolerate what you're listening to and actually just feel bad for the fact I've got minty shower gel in my eye, then I would very much appreciate it if you did subscribe to the channel, as it does mean a lot. But again, if you don't care about my red eye, that's okay, I'll forgive you. Before we get into the video, I should say, what is body dysmorphia? And according to the old Google definition, body dysmorphic disorder or body dysmorphia is a mental health condition where you spend a lot of time worrying about your appearance. One example of body dysmorphia might be somebody who's extremely muscular, who just sees themselves as very small, feels very inferior, or perhaps you could actually go the other way, somebody who's very skinny, very underweight, might see themselves as very large, and it kind of makes sense as to why body dysmorphia can very quickly link or contribute to the development of an eating disorder, which is something we'll discuss later.
You actually have influencers in the fitness industry who may be filtering or faking their appearance and then selling fitness programs or milkshakes or skinny green tea or whatever other stuff, and people think that they can go out, follow this advice and get those results.
I speak about this in videos quite often, but reality is so many people will essentially sell their soul to the devil in the fitness industry, where they'll enhance themselves in some capacity, be that performance enhancing drugs, be that surgery, whatever it may be, and then claim the results they've achieved, being through this enhancement, whatever it may be, or aided by enhancement, we'll say, was due to a supplement, a product, or something that will essentially allow them to make a lot of money, because many people in the industry who don't know any better will assume that why would their favorite creator lie to them? They must be telling the truth, when in reality, they're not telling you the truth. They're lying to you because they want to make money, because they know eventually they will be irrelevant, and they need to make the bank before they fade into the abyss of irrelevant content creators or celebrities. From a business perspective, it makes sense. Does that mean it's morally correct and ethical? Absolutely not, because fundamentally what you are doing there as a creator when you are selling lies to your audience have essentially given you a platform to form a career that you're now lying to. You're stabbing them in the back. You're potentially contributing to the development of mental health disorders, because then these consumers are going to come away from purchasing whatever product you've told them gave you the results you saw, not achieving the results they were hoping to see, and they're more commonly going to assume that they're the problem rather than assuming that you lied to them, which you probably did.
If you look at people on social media, they have no nasal labial folds. The filters give you perfectly smooth skin and no folds, which is normal. Everybody smiles, everybody has these folds, but I'm seeing people who are younger coming in wanting a facelift because they are trying to get rid of this.
It further kind of highlights how the development of social media and the implementation of something that could be perceived as harmless, being a filter, can very quickly lead you to believe that you should look a certain way that's actually fundamentally not naturally achievable. When you have younger individuals, and potentially even teenagers or maybe even younger, coming in desiring a facelift to look a certain way, immediately that should be a red flag that there's a problem. When although these filters like Snapchat filters, Instagram filters, whatever they may be, were probably brought in just for some minor touch-ups, you can very quickly see how they develop into a much greater problem, being the unrealistic expectations of what the human body, or maybe even the human face in this case, should look like or can look like, when in reality it probably can't. Photoshop used to be a big thing back in the day, where a lot of influencers would Photoshop their photos to make them look bigger, make them look leaner, certain shapes, whatever it may be. Then you begin to question it, is heavy filtering not just like almost like a minor version of Photoshop, where you're not necessarily enhancing or altering the shape of your body, but you're still altering your body to a degree that makes you look a certain way that you don't look like.
You have body dysmorphia?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah?
Oh yeah.
Like you just think that you're like small as hell?
Yeah, especially on the cut right now, losing that fat, so the size is not there for me right now.
Do you watch a lot of like celebrities, like fitness influencer people, and like you compare yourself to them?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Like who?
You're one of them.
Oh really?
Oh yeah.
Oh shit, okay. Have you ever thought about going on steroids?
Nah.
That's an interesting one, because I'm kind of surprised by the answer there, in the sense that I think a lot of younger individuals, again, this is something I've seen firsthand at the gyms I go to, are very much leaning down the route of steroids, performance-enhancing drugs, or even that consideration. And I kind of touched on this in the recent Sam Sulek Trend Twins video, so I don't want to elaborate too much. Because when you're suffering with something like body dysmorphia, and you then start questioning whether you're not big enough, or maybe you feel happy if you're bigger, etc., then ultimately you very quickly jump to the route of, what can I do? Can I get enhancements through steroids? Can I get enhancements through surgery? Is there something else I can do to make me feel better and change my physical appearance? When the reality is this: you can change your physical appearance all you want. That's probably not going to change the problem. Body dysmorphia is a mental health disorder. It's not a physical health disorder. You change your physical appearance, it does not change the fact that the mental health disorder is still present. Although you may convince yourself that it will fix things because, if I get bigger, I've solved the problem. When you get bigger, you will still not feel big enough. Your goalpost just moves. You don't ever get closer to it, it just keeps moving. If anything, I feel smaller now than I did when I first started training, and I literally weigh double what I weighed when I started training. But I feel smaller now than I did back then. I think from the perspective of transparency, I think it's kind of important for me to briefly allude to the kind of experience I've had with body dysmorphia. Like I said, considering I weighed probably about 125 pounds when I started training, I now weigh about 250 pounds. I'm 6'3", still relatively lean, and I still feel horrendously small when I walk into the gym. I don't find that inherently problematic, because it doesn't consume or negatively impact my life as much as you would probably assume. Sure, I wear very large clothing, like the jumper I'm wearing now is 4XL. You likely rarely ever see my physique on YouTube, but that's for other reasons as well. I find it quite anxiety inducing when I have to post anything relevant to my physique on social media, which sadly kind of do have to an extent on like Instagram or whatnot. It's definitely something that's hindered my ability to enjoy certain things. I don't restrict myself in certain capacities, but I do feel guilty if I don't hit my calories, and when I'm trying to get bigger and trying to get stronger and trying to get heavier. That does lead to a lot of guilt and shame. I also find it kind of throws me off in other areas of my life, and my routine kind of crumbles. I also notice that my clothing choices have obviously changed. I wear a lot bigger clothes now, because then the less of my physique you can see, the more my physique is essentially based off your imagination rather than genuine perception of what you can see, and that kind of gives me a bit of comfort. I know it's aided me in some capacity, because I think if I was happy with how I looked, then I probably wouldn't push myself so hard in the gym and wouldn't try and achieve what I'm trying to achieve. But I also acknowledge that there is a fine line between it helping me achieve my goals and also becoming problematic to where it's really hindering my life. Right now, it's not really hindering my life, whereas previously, I will admit that it did really hinder my life. But if it does cross over that line where it's negatively impacting my ability to socialize, enjoy life, and just live life, then it's something I will directly kind of put a lot of emphasis on addressing. But right now I have other issues I probably need to address first. I can save that waffle for another video. If anybody actually cares enough, I can go into a lot more detail surrounding personal experiences in the future, so we'll see. This is where you identify that changing your physical appearance is not going to change the psychological problem that is leading you to feel a certain way about your physical appearance. I always say to people, look, at the end of the day, if you want to get surgery, you want to go on enhancements, that's completely up to you. It's your body, your choice, and you must do what's best for you. You have to understand the risks, and you shouldn't lie to people. Either don't say anything about it at all, or just be completely honest. Either one I respect, but at the end of the day, it's also quite key, I think, to question your motives as to why. I want to do this because it will help make me feel this way. But will it actually? I'm never going to stop somebody, because again, it's not my body, but I do think it's worth just questioning, why will that make you feel better? Is that what's best for you? And if you say yes, then sure, crack on, do what's best for you. But it's still worth just questioning and digging a bit deeper to see if maybe there are some underlying issues that might not have been addressed that could potentially be addressed.
Just finished my workout. My arms are at least probably 2 inches bigger than normal. My chest is probably 2 inches bigger than normal. So we're gonna compare my physique now versus me right now. So I just woke up. No special down lighting, not even the best lighting right now, just my natural self, no pump, and this is what I look like.
Fundamentally, and I know many people can feel this now, you will never look as good as you do with a pump. Regardless of whether you get bigger, regardless of whether you get stronger, you'll still never look as good as you do with a pump, because when you get bigger, you'll look even better with a pump, and that goalpost continues moving. And what influencers often do, which you can understand why to an extent, is they do typically showcase the highlight reel. So they show the best versions of themselves. So when they're in the gym, they're probably showing a picture when they're most pumped. Again, you can understand why, but it's still key to note how damaging that social comparison can be, because you're comparing your non-pumped self to the best pump self of an influencer that, first of all, you shouldn't compare yourself to anyway, because they're the only person who looks like them, you're the only person who looks like you. And secondly, pump to unpump, two different states that you're comparing. And social media is a tricky one, because social media essentially, to a degree, feeds this. It almost feeds into that endless cycle of comparison, but that also endless cycle of judgment. You go on social media, maybe looking for motivation, you then find comparisons, start comparing yourself to influencers, then you feel down about yourself, so you stay on social media to feel better about yourself, and it goes round and round and round. You look to try and feel better, but you end up feeling worse, so you keep going back to look to feel better, but you end up feeling worse. It just goes cycle, cycle, cycle. So again, this is why I always kind of preach the idea of not comparing yourselves to others, whether someone's on steroids, has surgery, whatever it may be. Those variables do not change the fact that you would never look like them anyway, because again, your genetic makeup and their genetic makeup are completely different. So which is why I almost struggle with the whole natty or not thing. Oftentimes people do like natty or nots for views. I get it, I've done it myself before. But in reality, natty or not does not change the fact that you could not achieve what they have achieved with or without steroids, because their genetic range or their genetic capabilities will take them thus far with or without steroids. Yours will take you thus far. You can't compare two people when you're two very different genetic beings.
People who are unhappy with their bodies oftentimes develop eating disorders, which may include fasting, constant dieting, or binging and purging. 95% of these people are between ages 12 and 25, and only 10% of people suffering from eating disorders will seek professional help.
So that's a scary statistic in itself, and I kind of alluded to this earlier, is when you feel a certain way about your body, that you maybe feel fatter than you are, skinnier than you are, you have to question what contribution that could have to the development of eating disorders or disordered eating. And kind of Will's touched on this here quite nicely. It kind of makes sense. If you feel like you are fat when you are not, although people will see you the way that you are, you'll see yourself in a completely different light. Therefore, you will adjust and alter your behaviors and eating habits to align with how you perceive yourself, not how you're perceived by others. And again, that can develop into things like anorexia, bulimia, anything within that eating disorder realm. If you know much about eating disorders and that kind of realm of treatment, they are exceptionally difficult to treat. And a lot of people sadly find comfort in their disorder. I've been diagnosed with my own disorders, separate to that, and for a long period I did find comfort in them as well. If you find comfort in something which is inherently potentially hindering your life, how do you get away from that? Because although it is hindering your life, it provides you comfort, which then to an extent can provide the illusion that it's supporting you, it's helping you, it's there for you, and you almost characterize yourself by becoming the eating disorder or the disorder. How do you convince somebody who genuinely believes they're fat than when they're not, that they're not fat, when they're trying to treat the fat that they feel, when in reality they're actually horrendously underweight? You've also got to consider whether the eating disorders can further develop into something else as well. Depression, anxiety, which they can. I think it's tricky because so many people, when trying to cure or address their body dysmorphia, rather than going to therapy and seeking the psychological intervention they probably need for the psychological disorder they are struggling with, they resort to something to change their physical perception of themselves and alter their physical being. So again, enhancements in any degree, where they make themselves bigger, liposuction to make them smaller, whatever it may be, they try and change their physical self, when in reality the physical self is not what needs changing when addressing body dysmorphia, it's the psychological self. All I would say to people, if you are falling into that bracket, again, there's no judgment here, there's no shame. This is something I've openly struggled with myself for many years and continue to struggle with myself. It's key to note that if you are chasing something physically to change how you feel about yourself, the physical changes are probably not going to lead to the results you're hoping for. It's probably worth seeking psychological intervention to then overcome the psychological issue that is making you feel this way about your physical self, and then you can continue chasing your physical goals without them being essentially fed by a psychological disorder that's going to leave you feeling never satisfied and forever unhappy. So I preach it all the time, but therapy is a bloody lifesaver, and it's definitely something that more people should consider. Even if you don't think there's anything for you to address, just like with many things, it's easier to prevent a problem before it starts than it is to fix a problem once it's already developed. Just my thoughts and opinions, and I'd love to hear yours in the comment section below. And as always, my DMs are always open if anybody wants to reach out and talk to me. Again, I can only provide so much of an opinion as I'm not a professional in this realm, but I'll always be there to listen if it provides at least some benefit to somebody. Thank you for tolerating me. Thank you for tolerating my waffle about this matter, and thank you for tolerating the video.